Every single day, without a single complaint, your kidneys filter roughly 200 liters of blood. They remove waste. They regulate your blood pressure. They balance the chemistry your cells depend on to function. They do this continuously, through every meal you eat, every drink you consume, every medication you take, quietly and faithfully for every year of your life. And here is something that most people never consider. The food sitting in your kitchen right now may be working either with those kidneys or actively against them. Slowly, silently, without a single symptom until the damage is already done. That is the uncomfortable truth that today's conversation is built around. Because for adults over 60, when kidney filtration capacity has already naturally declined, when blood pressure tends to run higher, when blood sugar is harder to control, what you eat is not a neutral act. It is either protective or destructive. And the difference between those two paths plays out not just in lab results, but in years of independence, clarity, and quality of life. I'm Dr. Naira Stein, your Seniors Health and Wellness Consultant. In the next 15 to 20 minutes, I'm going to walk you through a list that I genuinely wish every person over 60 had access to. 5 foods that are doing measurable, documented harm to kidney tissue in older adults, and 5 foods that the research shows actively support kidney repair and protection. My goal is not to frighten you. My goal is to hand you information precise enough to use at the grocery store, at the dinner table, at the moment you reach for something you've eaten your whole life without knowing what it was quietly doing to your kidneys. Let's begin. The aging kidney: why what you eat matters more after 6. A system built for endurance, but not invincibility. The kidneys are extraordinary organs. Each one contains approximately 1 million microscopic filtering units called nephrons, tiny structures composed of a delicate knot of capillaries surrounded by tubules that reclaim useful substances and direct waste toward the urine. Together, the 2 kidneys manage a filtration workload that is almost incomprehensible in its scale and precision. But there is a biological reality about kidney tissue that distinguishes it from many other organs in the body. Nephrons do not regenerate. Once a nephron is destroyed, whether by sustained high blood pressure, chronic high blood sugar, oxidative stress, or repeated chemical exposure, it is gone permanently. The kidneys compensate by increasing the workload on the remaining nephrons, which works adequately for a time. But as losses accumulate, the compensation becomes insufficient. Filtration capacity measurably declines, and waste products begin to accumulate in the blood. This process begins earlier than most people realize. After the age of 40, kidney filtration capacity declines at a rate of roughly 1% per year. By 65, most adults have lost 20 to 30% of the kidney function they had at their peak, often without any symptoms and without any abnormal blood test unless the decline is specifically measured. By 75, that loss may reach 40% or more. This gradual, silent decline is not disease, it is aging. But it means that the kidneys of an older adult are operating with a significantly reduced reserve. They are less able to absorb dietary insults, compensate for blood pressure spikes, or clear chemical loads that a younger kidney would handle without difficulty. The margin for error is narrower. The consequences of the wrong dietary habits are more immediate and more severe. How food either protects or destroys kidney tissue. The kidneys interact with diet through multiple mechanisms simultaneously. Sodium drives blood pressure up, increasing the physical pressure on glomerular capillaries. Excess protein generates nitrogen waste that overwhelms struggling filtration units. Phosphorus additives in processed foods dysregulate mineral balance, damaging blood vessels and kidney tissue. Sugar and refined carbohydrates drive the blood glucose spikes that glycate and stiffen the capillaries inside nephrons. And certain compounds in food or drinks, including oxalates, purines, and various chemical additives, place direct chemical burdens on kidney cells that are already metabolically stressed. On the other side of the same equation, certain foods reduce systemic inflammation that accelerates nephron loss. Others improve blood vessel function inside the kidney, increasing oxygen and nutrient delivery to stressed tissue. Some provide antioxidants that neutralize the free radicals that accumulate in kidney cells during metabolic stress. Others help regulate blood pressure and blood sugar through mechanisms that directly reduce glomerular pressure and glycation. Understanding which foods fall into which category is not complicated, but it does require accurate information, and that is precisely what the next two sections will provide. I want to be precise about what silently destroying means in this context. These foods do not cause immediate dramatic harm. They do not produce pain the moment you eat them. Their damage is cumulative, the kind that builds across months and years of regular consumption, eroding kidney function in ways that may not show up on a standard blood test until significant damage has already occurred. That invisibility is exactly what makes them so dangerous. Processed and packaged meats. High sodium, phosphorus additives, and nitrogen waste. A triple assault on kidney tissue. Processed meats. Deli slices, sausages, hot dogs, bacon, canned meats, salami, ham represent one of the most kidney-hostile categories of food available in any supermarket. And their damage operates through not one, but three distinct mechanisms simultaneously. First, sodium. Processed meats are among the highest sodium foods in the modern diet. A single serving of deli turkey can contain 500 to 700 milligrams of sodium. 2 rashers of bacon approach 400 milligrams. And most people consume these foods in multiples, often multiple times a day. For kidneys that are already managing blood pressure with reduced filtration capacity, this sodium load is a sustained daily assault. Sodium drives fluid retention, elevates blood pressure, and increases the hydrostatic pressure inside the glomerular capillaries, physically stressing the most sensitive structures in the kidney. Second, phosphorus additives. Processed meats routinely contain inorganic phosphate preservatives, compounds added for color, texture, and shelf life that are absorbed by the body at a rate of nearly 100%. This is critically different from the naturally occurring phosphorus in whole foods, which is absorbed at a much lower rate. In older adults with reduced kidney function, the kidneys cannot excrete excess phosphorus efficiently, leading to elevated blood phosphorus levels that draw calcium out of bones, calcify blood vessels, and directly damage kidney tissue. Third, nitrogen waste. Meat protein breaks down into amino acids and nitrogen-containing waste products, urea, uric acid, creatinine, that the kidneys must filter from the blood. Processed meat, consumed regularly, delivers a continuous nitrogen waste load that strains already compromised filtration units. Studies tracking kidney function over years in people with existing kidney disease have found that high processed meat consumption is associated with significantly faster rates of GFR decline. Replace processed meats with plant-based proteins, lentils, chickpeas, tofu, or with fresh, unprocessed poultry and fish in moderate portions. Read sodium content on every packaged meat product before purchasing. If sodium per serving exceeds 300 milligrams, return it to the shelf. Dark-colored sodas and phosphoric acid drinks. A silent source of inorganic phosphorus that accumulates in kidney tissue. Most people understand that sugary sodas are not ideal for health, What very few people know, and what makes dark-colored sodas particularly dangerous for kidney health, is the role of phosphoric acid. Phosphoric acid is added to cola beverages to give them their characteristic sharp, tangy bite, and to extend shelf life. Like the phosphate additives in processed meats, phosphoric acid provides highly bioavailable inorganic phosphorus, absorbed at a rate approaching 100%, compared to the 40 to 60% absorption rate of phosphorus from natural food sources. Drinking 2 or 3 colas per day can add a significant and underappreciated phosphorus load to a system already struggling to excrete it. But the damage extends beyond phosphorus. Multiple large epidemiological studies have found that regular consumption of sugar-sweetened sodas is independently associated with increased risk of chronic kidney disease, kidney stones, and progression of existing kidney disease, even after controlling for other risk factors. The mechanism involves multiple pathways: fructose-driven uric acid production, which damages tubular kidney cells, osmotic stress from high sugar concentrations, and the direct effect of blood sugar spikes on glomerular microvasculature. Diet sodas are not a safe alternative in this context. Artificial sweeteners, particularly at the high intakes associated with daily soda consumption, have been associated in some studies with accelerated kidney function decline, though research here is still developing. The safest substitution is water, herbal tea, or diluted unsweetened fruit juice. Replace dark sodas with still or sparkling water, unsweetened herbal teas, or diluted unsweetened cranberry or apple juice. If you drink cola daily, eliminating it is one of the single highest impact dietary changes you can make for your kidneys this week. Table salt and high sodium condiments. The blood pressure driver that physically tears apart glomerular tissue. Sodium's relationship with kidney disease is not a matter of medical opinion. It is one of the most thoroughly documented associations in all of nephrology. And yet sodium overconsumption remains pervasive, largely because most of its dietary sources are hidden from awareness. The mechanism is direct and well understood. When sodium intake is high, the kidneys retain water to maintain blood sodium concentration within safe limits. Blood volume rises, cardiac output increases, systemic blood pressure climbs, and the delicate filtering capillaries of the glomeruli, which are already managing higher pressures in aging kidneys with stiffening vasculature, are subjected to sustained mechanical stress that progressively damages their walls. Over years, this glomerular hypertension causes scarring of the filtering tissue, a process called glomerulosclerosis. As scarred, non-functional glomeruli accumulate, filtration capacity falls, creatinine rises, GFR declines, and the kidneys spiral into a state of progressive insufficiency that diet alone cannot fully reverse, though it can meaningfully slow. The critical and widely misunderstood point is where this sodium actually comes from. Most people attribute their sodium intake to the salt shaker on the table, which accounts for only about 11% of total consumption for most adults. The majority of dietary sodium, roughly 70 to 75%, is embedded in processed, packaged, preserved, and restaurant foods. Bread, cheese, canned soups and vegetables, condiments, sauces, seasonings, pickles, olives, and virtually all fast food. Eliminating the salt shaker while continuing to eat these foods produces minimal change. For older adults with kidney concerns, the target sodium intake is generally no more than 1,500 to 2,000 milligrams per day, roughly the amount in 3/4 of a teaspoon of table salt in total from all sources combined. Reaching this target requires a systematic review of every packaged product consumed and a deliberate shift toward cooking from whole, unprocessed ingredients. Season food with fresh garlic, ginger, lemon juice, lime, turmeric, cumin, coriander, fresh herbs, and vinegars. Read sodium content on every label and reject products exceeding 140 milligrams per 100 grams. Cook soups, sauces, and stews from scratch using low sodium or homemade stock. Refined sugar, white bread, and high glycemic foods. The silent glycation pathway that stiffens and destroys kidney capillaries. The connection between blood sugar and kidney disease is so well established that diabetic nephropathy, kidney disease caused by chronically elevated glucose, is the single leading cause of kidney failure worldwide. But here is the part that is far less widely understood. You do not need to have diabetes for this damage to be occurring. Every time blood glucose rises sharply, after a meal of white bread, white rice, sugary cereal, pastries, sweetened beverages, or any high glycemic food, a process called glycation begins in the bloodstream. Glucose molecules attach to proteins in blood vessel walls, stiffening and structurally altering the capillaries that form the kidney's filtering units. This process is proportional to both the height and duration of blood glucose spikes. The more frequent and severe the spikes, the more glycation accumulates, and the more the glomerular capillaries are progressively damaged. In people with prediabetes, a condition affecting a significant proportion of adults over 60, often silently, this glycation damage is already measurable in kidney tissue before any formal diagnosis is made. Studies examining kidney biopsy tissue from people with prediabetes have found glomerular changes that are pathologically similar to early diabetic nephropathy. The kidneys do not wait for the diagnosis. They respond to the blood sugar, not the label. High fructose corn syrup, found in the vast majority of sweetened processed foods and beverages, presents an additional and specific problem. Fructose metabolism in the liver generates uric acid, and elevated uric acid has been shown to directly damage kidney tubular cells, reduce GFR, and promote the kind of inflammation that accelerates nephron loss. Reducing fructose-containing processed foods and beverages is therefore doubly protective. Replace white bread with whole grain or sourdough varieties. Replace sugary cereals with oats, eggs, or plain Greek yogurt with berries. Replace refined rice with brown rice, barley, or quinoa. Eliminate sugary snacks and sweetened beverages entirely and replace with whole fruits, nuts, and water. Distribute carbohydrate intake across smaller, more frequent meals to reduce the height of post-meal glucose peaks. Excess dairy, especially in processed forms. Phosphorus, potassium, and a mineral burden that accumulates in damaged kidneys. This one tends to surprise people, and I want to be precise about what the evidence does and does not say. Because dairy is not universally harmful, and the nuance here matters. Whole dairy foods, milk, cheese, yogurt, contain naturally occurring phosphorus, potassium, and protein in forms that are relevant to kidney health at higher stages of kidney disease. The issue is not dairy itself for all older adults, but rather the consumption of dairy in large quantities, and especially in processed forms, by those whose kidneys are already struggling to manage these mineral loads. In moderate chronic kidney disease, when GFR has dropped below 60, the kidneys become progressively less able to excrete phosphorus efficiently. Phosphorus begins to accumulate in the blood. Elevated blood phosphorus triggers the release of parathyroid hormone, which draws calcium from bones in an attempt to balance the ratio. This leads simultaneously to bone weakening and to calcium phosphate deposition in blood vessels and soft tissue, a process called vascular calcification that is one of the most damaging complications of advancing kidney disease. Processed dairy products. Processed cheese slices, cheese spreads, flavored dairy drinks, dairy-based ready meals, add inorganic phosphate additives on top of the naturally occurring phosphorus in dairy, magnifying the load. Some processed cheese products contain 2 to 3 times the phosphorus per serving of natural cheese because of these additives. Potassium is a second consideration. Dairy is moderately high in potassium, and in advanced kidney disease, the kidneys cannot excrete potassium efficiently. Elevated blood potassium, hyperkalemia, can cause dangerous cardiac arrhythmias. This is why potassium management becomes a priority in more advanced stages. For those with mild kidney concerns, moderate dairy consumption, particularly plain yogurt, which provides probiotic benefits and relatively modest phosphorus loads, remains acceptable. The principle is moderation, avoidance of processed dairy forms, and heightened attention as kidney function declines. Limit dairy to 1 to 2 portions per day. Avoid processed cheese products, cheese spreads, and dairy-based packaged foods. Favor plain yogurt over flavored varieties. If your GFR is below 60, discuss specific phosphorus and potassium targets with your physician or renal dietitian. Now, and this is the part of the conversation that I find genuinely exciting as a physician, let's turn to the other side of the plate, because for every damaging dietary pattern, there is a protective one. And the foods in this section are not simply neutral substitutes. They actively support kidney tissue through specific, well-documented biological mechanisms. Resveratrol and anthocyanins that protect glomerular tissue from oxidative destruction. Red grapes are one of the most polyphenol-rich foods available in any grocery store. And it is their polyphenol content, specifically resveratrol and anthocyanins, that makes them so valuable for kidney health. Resveratrol has attracted significant research attention for its effects on kidney tissue specifically. Animal studies have demonstrated that resveratrol supplementation reduces markers of kidney inflammation, decreases oxidative stress in renal cells, and helps preserve filtration function under conditions of chronic kidney stress. In human research, polyphenol-rich dietary patterns, of which red grapes are a key component, are associated with slower progression of kidney disease and better preservation of GFR over time. The mechanism operates through several pathways simultaneously. Resveratrol inhibits NF-kappa B, a central molecular switch that activates inflammatory gene expression throughout the body, including in kidney tissue. It reduces the production of reactive oxygen species in glomerular and tubular cells. And it activates sirtuin proteins, longevity-associated enzymes that help cells manage stress and maintain function under adverse conditions. Anthocyanins from the grape skin add a complementary layer of protection, reducing systemic inflammation and improving the function of endothelial cells, the cells lining the blood vessel walls of the glomerular capillaries. Better endothelial function means better blood flow through the kidney's filtering structures, more efficient oxygen delivery, and reduced susceptibility to the hypertensive damage we discussed earlier. Red grapes are also relatively low in potassium compared to many fruits, an important practical advantage for older adults with kidney concerns who need to manage mineral loads without sacrificing the protective benefits of antioxidant-rich foods. A small bunch of red or purple grapes, roughly half a cup, daily as a snack or alongside a meal, delivers a meaningful dose of protective polyphenols. Choose whole grapes over grape juice, which concentrates sugar and removes fiber. Red and purple varieties carry higher anthocyanin concentrations than green, a low-potassium, low-phosphorus, cruciferous vegetable packed with kidney protective compounds. Cauliflower occupies a unique position in the landscape of kidney protective foods, not because of a single dramatic compound, but because of the rare combination of what it contains and what it does not contain. For older adults with kidney concerns, one of the most challenging aspects of dietary management is finding vegetables that are genuinely safe at higher stages of kidney disease. Many vegetables that are nutritionally excellent for general health, spinach, potatoes, tomatoes, oranges, are high in potassium or phosphorus, limiting their value when kidney function is compromised and these minerals begin to accumulate. Cauliflower is remarkably low in both potassium and phosphorus, making it one of the most kidney-friendly vegetables available across all stages of disease. Incorporate cauliflower into at least 3 meals per week, roasted, steamed, mashed, or used as a rice substitute. Pair it with olive oil and turmeric for an anti-inflammatory combination that extends its protective effects. Cauliflower rice is an excellent kidney-safe substitute for white rice in any dish. Anthocyanins that reduce kidney inflammation and protect glomerular capillaries. If there is one food that appears most consistently across the research on aging, inflammation, and organ protection, it is the blueberry. And its benefits for kidney tissue specifically are among the most well-documented of any food in this entire list. Blueberries are one of the richest natural sources of anthocyanins on Earth. The deep blue-purple pigments that give them their color and that function as some of the most potent antioxidant and anti-inflammatory compounds in the plant kingdom. In kidney tissue specifically, anthocyanins have demonstrated the ability to cross the kidney's own protective barriers and reach the cells where oxidative stress is most intense. Research in animal models of chronic kidney disease has shown that blueberry supplementation reduces kidney fibrosis, the scarring process that permanently destroys filtration capacity, and measurably preserves GFR over time compared to control groups. The mechanism involves inhibition of TGF-beta1, a signaling molecule that drives the fibrotic process in damaged kidney tissue. By dampening this signal, anthocyanins help prevent the conversion of injured kidney cells into non-functional scar tissue. Olive oil, specifically extra virgin olive oil, is among the most thoroughly studied foods in the world for its effects on cardiovascular and metabolic health. Its benefits for kidney tissue are equally significant, and they operate through mechanisms that address several of the most damaging pathways we have already discussed. The primary active compounds in extra virgin olive oil relevant to kidney health are oleic acid, a monounsaturated fatty acid, and oleocanthal, a polyphenol with anti-inflammatory properties so potent that it was described in the original research as functioning similarly to ibuprofen in its mechanism of action, but without ibuprofen's nephrotoxic effects. This distinction is clinically important. Olive oil provides anti-inflammatory benefit through a pathway that does not compromise kidney blood flow, unlike NSAIDs. In the kidney, oleic acid helps maintain the structural integrity of cell membranes in glomerular and tubular tissue, protecting them from the oxidative damage that accumulates with aging and metabolic stress. Research has found that diets rich in olive oil are associated with lower levels of oxidative stress markers in kidney tissue and better preservation of antioxidant enzyme systems that neutralize free radicals in renal cells. Olive oil also has well-established benefits for both blood pressure and blood sugar regulation, reducing two of the most destructive forces on glomerular tissue simultaneously. The Mediterranean dietary pattern, of which extra virgin olive oil is a cornerstone, has been associated in multiple large prospective studies with significantly slower progression of chronic kidney disease and lower rates of kidney function decline in older adults. Garlic is a food that has been used medicinally for thousands of years across virtually every culture on Earth, and modern science has spent the last several decades confirming, in considerable mechanistic detail, that this ancient intuition was correct. For kidney health specifically, garlic's protective properties are both broad and well documented. The primary active compound in garlic relevant to kidney protection is allicin, produced when garlic is crushed or chopped, from the precursor compound allicin. Allicin and its metabolic derivatives are powerful antioxidants and have significant anti-inflammatory properties, inhibiting several inflammatory signaling pathways that are active in kidney disease progression. For kidney tissue specifically, garlic's most impactful effect may be on blood pressure. Multiple clinical trials and meta-analyses have demonstrated that regular garlic consumption, either from whole garlic or standardized garlic extract, produces meaningful reductions in both systolic and diastolic blood pressure, with effect sizes comparable in some studies to those of first-line antihypertensive medications at low doses. Since hypertension is one of the most damaging forces on glomerular tissue, this blood pressure-lowering effect has direct and significant kidney protective implications. Research in animal models of kidney disease has found that garlic supplementation reduces kidney oxidative stress markers, decreases inflammatory cytokine production in renal tissue, and helps preserve GFR in models of induced kidney injury. In human observational research, diets rich in garlic and other allium vegetables are associated with lower rates of kidney disease progression. There is also the matter of garlic's practical role in a kidney protective diet. The flavor compounds in garlic are extraordinarily versatile and powerful, capable of making low-sodium, low-processed food cooking genuinely satisfying and delicious. Garlic, alongside herbs, citrus, olive oil, and spices, is one of the foundations of kidney-friendly cooking that does not feel like a sacrifice. 2 to 4 cloves of fresh garlic daily, lightly cooked or raw, crushed 10 minutes before use to maximize allicin formation, is the amount supported by most clinical research. Incorporate it into the base of soups, stews, vegetable dishes, dressings, and marinades. Garlic powder retains some beneficial compounds, though fresh whole garlic provides the highest allicin yield. I want to address something directly because I hear it from patients regularly: the concern that eating for kidney health means giving up everything enjoyable, eating bland food, and spending every meal reading labels with a magnifying glass. That is not the reality. But it does require a transition period, and that transition is easier with a clear framework. The simplest version of kidney protective eating for adults over 60 can be summarized in a single principle: build your plate around the healers, and systematically replace the offenders with better alternatives, one at a time. Begin with the highest impact swap available to you right now. For most people, that is sodium. Removing the most sodium-dense packaged products from regular use and replacing them with whole, home-cooked alternatives seasoned with garlic, herbs, lemon, and olive oil. This single change, sustained consistently, produces measurable improvements in blood pressure within 2 to 4 weeks and directly reduces glomerular stress every day it is maintained. Then add the healers: a daily serving of blueberries, a handful of red grapes, cauliflower instead of white potato 2 or 3 times per week, extra virgin olive oil as the cooking fat of choice, garlic as a standard ingredient in most savory cooking. These are not dramatic changes, but stacked together over weeks and months, they create a measurably different biochemical environment for your kidneys to operate in. No processed cereal, no toast with processed spread, no commercial juice. Lunch: a large vegetable-based salad with generous raw garlic in the dressing, olive oil, lemon juice, raw garlic, and fresh herbs. A portion of lentils or chickpeas for plant-based protein. A small bunch of red grapes alongside. Dinner: baked or poached salmon or chicken in moderate portion. Roasted cauliflower with olive oil, turmeric, and black pepper. A side of brown rice or barley. No added salt. Seasoned entirely with garlic, herbs, and citrus. Snack or pre-bed: a small portion of plain cottage cheese or a handful of walnuts. A glass of water. This is not an exotic protocol. It is broadly a Mediterranean-adjacent pattern with specific attention to the nutrients most relevant to kidney protection after 60. It is flavorful, filling, and, critically, sustainable. Everything in this video operates best in the context of regular medical monitoring. If your creatinine is elevated or your GFR has been flagged, request follow-up tests every 3 to 6 months to track your trajectory. Ask your physician about referral to a renal dietitian. These specialists can provide personalized targets for sodium, potassium, phosphorus, protein, and fluid based on your specific stage of kidney function. The appropriate dietary targets for potassium and phosphorus depend significantly on your GFR and the specific stage of your kidney disease. What is safe and beneficial at early stages may need adjustment at more advanced stages. Always discuss your individual dietary plan with your physician or renal dietitian before making significant changes. Your kidneys had been working for you without a single day off, without a moment of rest, since before you were born. They have filtered every drop of blood in your body every 30 minutes for every year of your life. They have managed every dietary excess, compensated for every metabolic stress, and maintained the chemical environment your cells need to survive, even as their own capacity has gradually, quietly declined with age. They deserve something in return. Not a perfect diet, not a dramatic overhaul achieved overnight, but a deliberate, consistent commitment to removing the foods that are silently stressing them and replacing them with the foods that actively support their repair and resilience. The 5 foods doing harm: processed meats, dark sodas, excess sodium, high glycemic refined carbohydrates, and excess processed dairy, are not irreplaceable pleasures. They are habits largely, and habits can be changed, particularly when you understand precisely what the alternative looks like and why it matters. The 5 foods doing good: red grapes, cauliflower, blueberries, olive oil, and garlic are accessible, affordable, genuinely delicious, and backed by a body of research that grows more compelling every year. Begin today, not next week, not after the next blood test. Choose one offender to reduce and one healer to add, starting at your very next meal. Build from there. Your kidneys will respond, perhaps not in days, but certainly in weeks and months, with exactly the kind of sustained, faithful effort they have always provided you. I'm Dr. Naira Stein, and I hope this conversation has given you something precise and actionable to carry forward. Protect your kidneys. They are protecting everything else.